After 34 years of perfect performance reviews, suddenly at age 58, I was no longer meeting expectations. The HR director actually said, "Let's be honest, Richard. Younger employees are just more dynamic." I smiled and thanked her for the meeting. 3 days later, when the EEOC investigators showed up with my 47-page discrimination complaint, she wasn't smiling anymore. If you've ever been pushed aside because someone thought you were too old, this story is for you. Subscribe to hear how justice sometimes comes to those who document everything. Let me tell you how my blessing in disguise became their nightmare. My name is Richard Hartley. For 34 years, I was a senior software architect at Nexus Technologies in Seattle. I started in 1989 when we still used floppy disks and dial-up modems. I grew with the company from a 50-person startup to a tech giant with 12,000 employees worldwide. I led the team that developed 3 of our core products, held 15 patents, and trained hundreds of engineers. My performance reviews exceeds expectations every single year. Until I turned 58, I loved my job. While my friends talked about retirement, I was excited about our new AI integration project. My wife Linda would joke, "Richard, you'll die at that desk." I'd laugh and say, "There are worse ways to go." I had no intention of retiring. Technology was my passion, not just my profession. The company culture started changing in 2021 when they brought in a new CEO, Blake Morrison, 38 years old, from a Silicon Valley startup. His first all-hands meeting theme was fresh perspectives for a new era. He talked about digital natives and innovative thinking. Those of us over 50 exchanged glances. We knew what that meant. The changes were subtle at first. Younger managers were promoted over senior staff. New projects went to emerging talent. Our input in meetings was politely acknowledged, then ignored. The company started offering early retirement incentives, generous packages for anyone over 55 who wanted to leave voluntarily. Some took it. Bob Martinez, 61, who'd built our entire server infrastructure, left in January. "I'm tired of fighting," he told me over beers. "They want us gone." Sarah Kim, 59, our best database architect, left in March. "The writing's on the wall, Richard," she said. I stayed. Call it stubbornness or principle, but I wasn't going to be pushed out. I was still sharp, still innovative, still contributing. My team was developing a new security protocol that could save the company millions. Age was just a number. Then Margaret Chun was hired as the new HR director in April 2023, 35 years old. MBA from Wharton, previously at a company known for aggressive restructuring. She implemented something called the Performance Enhancement Initiative. Suddenly, after 34 years, I had to justify my existence quarterly. My first review under the new system was in July 2023. Margaret sat across from me with a tablet, barely looking up. "Richard, your technical skills are adequate, but we have concerns about your adaptability to new methodologies." "Which methodologies?" I asked. I just completed certifications in 3 new programming languages. It's more about energy, enthusiasm, fresh thinking. She waved her hand vaguely. "Your work is solid, but solid isn't enough anymore. We need dynamic." I received a needs improvement rating, first time in 34 years. The next day, they assigned a 26-year-old mentor to help me upskill. The kid knew less than my intern, but I played along, documenting everything. I started paying attention. Every employee over 55 was suddenly underperforming. Jim Walsh, 57, who'd won the Company Innovation Award 3 times, was put on a performance improvement plan. Nancy Torres, 60, who literally wrote our quality assurance protocols, was told she lacked innovative thinking. I began documenting everything. Every meeting, every email, every casual comment. I used my phone to record conversations. Washington is a two-party consent state, but I always informed people I was taking notes on my phone for accuracy. In August, I overheard Margaret talking to Blake Morrison in the elevator. They didn't see me behind them. Operation Fresh Blood is ahead of schedule, she said. We've transitioned out 30% of the over 55 demographic. By year-end, we'll hit 50%. Legal concerns? Blake asked. All performance-based terminations. Ironclad. Documentation. They can't prove discrimination if we show performance issues. I recorded the whole thing. September brought my second review. This time, Margaret had evidence of my poor performance. Projects delivered late. They'd moved the deadlines after I'd started. Code that was inefficient, reviewed by the 26-year-old, who didn't understand the legacy system integration. Failure to embrace collaborative tools. I didn't use their new chat app because it wasn't secure for the classified government contracts I worked on. Richard, I need to be direct, Margaret said. You're struggling to keep up with our evolving technological landscape. At your age, that's natural. Have you considered that retirement might be a blessing in disguise? I'm 58, not 88, I said. And I just filed 2 new patent applications. She sighed. Patents are nice, but we need people who can execute in today's fast-paced environment. I'm putting you on a performance improvement plan. 90 days to show significant improvement. The PEEP was impossible. Deliverables that would typically take 6 months were due in 30 days. Required training sessions scheduled during my project deadlines. Mandatory innovation workshops run by consultants half my age, who spoke in buzzwords and acronyms. While jumping through their hoops, I was building my case. I found 23 employees over 55 who'd been terminated or forced out in the past year. All had excellent performance reviews until Margaret arrived. All were replaced by employees under 35, often at higher salaries. So much for cost cutting. I discovered emails through a perfectly legal IT maintenance check. I still had admin access they'd forgotten to revoke. Margaret had sent a presentation to the executive team titled Workforce Optimization Through Demographic Rebalancing. Slide 8 actually had a graph showing age versus innovation potential, with a sharp decline after 50. The smoking gun came in October. Margaret sent an email to department heads. Remember, performance reviews for our legacy employees, her code for older workers, should focus on adaptation challenges and technological gaps. We need strong documentation for the Q4 transitions. I forwarded everything to my personal email before they could delete it, then backed it up in 3 locations. November 15th, 2023. My 90-day PIP review. I'd actually met every impossible deadline, completed every training, attended every workshop. My team had delivered the security protocol on time and under budget. It didn't matter. Margaret didn't even pretend to review my work. Richard, despite your efforts, you're simply not meeting our expectations. Your energy level, your resistance to change, your inability to connect with younger team members. At 58, you should consider this restructuring a blessing. Time to enjoy your golden years. She slid the termination papers across the desk. 2 weeks severance for every year of service. 68 weeks. Not bad if I signed the non-disclosure and waiver of claims. Let's be honest, Richard, she continued. Younger employees are just more dynamic, more innovative, more aligned with our company culture. You've had a good run, but it's time to pass the torch. I smiled and thanked her for the meeting. I'll need a few days to review these papers with my attorney. Her smile wavered slightly. Oh, that's not really necessary. This is a standard package. very generous. Most people your age are grateful for. My age? I interrupted. You keep mentioning my age. Interesting. 3 days later, the EEOC investigators showed up that the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission takes age discrimination seriously. My 47-page complaint, backed by recordings, emails, documents, and witness statements, triggered an immediate investigation. Margaret was shocked when investigators asked to see all termination records for the past 2 years, broken down by age. The pattern was undeniable. 87% of terminated employees were over 55, while 92% of new hires were under 35. The investigation expanded when other former employees came forward. Jim Walsh had kept similar records. Nancy Torres had emails explicitly stating she was too old to retrain. Bob Martinez had a recording of his manager saying, "We need digital natives, not digital immigrants." Blake Morrison tried damage control. He claimed it was all about performance and innovation, not age. Then investigators showed him Margaret's demographic rebalancing presentation. His face went white. The EEOC gave me the right to sue letter in February 2024. My attorney, David Park, ironically 62 years old and sharp as a razor, filed a federal age discrimination lawsuit against Nexus Technologies, Blake Morrison, and Margaret Chon personally. Discovery was a goldmine. We found an email from Morrison praising Margaret for clearing out the deadwood, a spreadsheet tracking employee ages, with those over 55 marked in red meeting notes, where Margaret called older employees road warriors, retired on active duty. A consultant's report recommending age diversification, meaning getting rid of older workers. The smoking gun was a text message between Morrison and Margaret. "How's Operation Fresh Blood going?" "Great. We'll have a millennial majority workforce. By 2024, stock price will love our innovation metrics." Nexus tried to settle quietly. First offer, $500,000 and my silence. I refused. Second offer, $1 million. No, they were panicking because other lawsuits were emerging, and the EEOC was considering a class action certification. The media got involved. Tech giants' fresh blood means spilled. Blood for older workers ran in the Seattle Times. Our stock price dropped 15%. The board of directors started asking questions Morrison couldn't answer. Margaret was fired in March 2024, ironically for failure to meet corporate compliance expectations. Morrison resigned to pursue other opportunities in April. But we weren't done. The trial was set for September 2024, but Nexus knew they couldn't win. The evidence was overwhelming. The publicity was killing them, and their own employees were in revolt. Younger workers realized that age discrimination today meant their own futures were at risk. Final settlement conference, August 2024. Their lead attorney looked defeated. "What will it take to make this go away?" David smiled. "Full reinstatement for my client with back pay. $3.2 million in damages. And here's the kicker. Nexus implements a company-wide age inclusion program with federal monitoring for 5 years." "That's extortion," their attorney said. "No," David replied, "that's justice. Or we can let a jury decide." I'm sure they'd love to hear Margaret's blessing in disguise comment. They settled, but I had one more surprise. I declined reinstatement. Instead, I used part of my settlement to start my own consulting firm, hiring all the dinosaurs Nexus had forced out. Bob Martinez, Sarah Kim, Nancy Torres, Jim Walsh, the dream team of experienced engineers Nexus thought were worthless. Our first client, a Nexus competitor who'd been trying to solve a security problem for years. We fixed it in 3 months. Word spread. Turns out, experience and wisdom have value after all. Within a year, Hartley Tech Solutions had 50 employees average age 55, and contracts worth $40 million. We specialized in solving problems that dynamic young teams couldn't crack. Our motto? Experience is not obsolete. Margaret Chun never worked in HR again. Last I heard, she was selling real estate. Blake Morrison's next CEO position lasted 6 months before that board fired him too. Nexus stock never fully recovered, and they're still dealing with age. Discrimination lawsuits. The federal monitoring revealed systemic discrimination beyond just age. The Performance Enhancement Initiative also targeted women over 45 and minorities over 50 at higher rates. The final class action settlement exceeded $50 million, but the real victory was cultural. Tech companies across Seattle started reconsidering their youth obsession. Articles appeared in industry journals about the value of experience. Some companies began recruiting older workers, specifically for their wisdom and stability. In 2025, Nexus approached Hartley Tech Solutions with a problem. Their new security system, built by a team of dynamic 20-somethings, had a critical vulnerability. They needed it fixed yesterday. I took the meeting personally. The new CEO, Patricia Williams, 52, was refreshingly honest. We screwed up. We threw away decades of institutional knowledge for the myth of innovation through youth. We need your help. I could have been petty, could have charged them triple, could have said no. Instead, I offered fair terms and fixed their problem. But I had one condition. Nexus had to publicly commit to age-inclusive hiring practices and sponsor a scholarship program for older workers seeking tech training. They agreed. The press release headline read, Nexus Technologies partners with Hartley Solutions to bridge generation gap in tech. Sweet irony. As I write this in late 2025, I'm 60 years old and busier than ever. Hartley Tech Solutions employs 120 people across all age groups. We've proven that innovation isn't about age. It's about perspective, experience, and fresh thinking. From unexpected sources. My wife Linda jokes that I found the ultimate revenge, success. But it wasn't about revenge. It was about proving that experience has value, that wisdom matters, and that no one should be discarded because of a number. To anyone facing age discrimination, document everything. Know your rights. Don't accept the narrative that you're obsolete. And remember, when they say your termination is a blessing in disguise, they might be right. Just not in the way they think. Margaret thought she was clearing out deadwood. Instead, she planted the seeds for a forest of experienced professionals who proved that some wines really do get better with age. Her blessing in disguise became my blessing in plain sight, the chance to build something better than what I'd left behind. The next time someone suggests you're too old to compete, too set in your ways to innovate, or too experienced to stay relevant, remember this. They're not measuring your limitations. They're revealing their own. At 58, I was no longer meeting expectations. At 60, I'm exceeding them, just not theirs. And that's the real blessing. Sometimes being pushed out is really being pushed up. You just have to be willing to spread your wings and fly.